Previously on the Sojo Files. Eva's version of events start when Jordan arrives at the house. Her version of events changes within minutes by the time that officers and first responders arrive on the scene. And she realizes she has to change her story.
And I gave her a bottle, and her little head was on her pillow.
Did you get up and smoke a cigarette or anything?
I did it in bed. I didn't get up out of bed. And I think I smoked a cigarette in bed. I'm not for sure if I did or if I didn't. But I went back to sleep. Because when I touched her, I knew something was wrong with her. Right here, she had stuff coming out of her mouth under my shirt. Well, then I put her on the couch. No, Jordan had taken her from me. I can't really remember. It's all so crazy. And I told him I noticed this stuff on my shoulder, so I thought she might be choking. And I told her, I said, put her on her belly on the couch. And he did, and the stuff started coming out of her mouth.
And so, did he call 911?
He called 911, then he left. I said, please stay, I can't go through this by myself, please.
So he immediately left?
Because I did make him call 911. And then I didn't know if he called him or not because nobody showed up for a minute.
Have you talked to Jose lately?
I talked to him yesterday.
About what?
I'm being sick.
Have you texted him since yesterday?
Actually, I sent him a text this morning. I got on Facebook and I seen an old memory of us in the hospital with Olivia. And then not too long after that, I think Jordan came in. No. That was all whenever he left.
Last week, we started going over all of the different versions of Eva Millard's story for November 8th, 2018. On today's episode, we are going to be picking up where we left off.
I didn't even hear him say anything to the ambulance people. And I was standing right there. I should have heard him.
We already know from last week's episode that Eva stated several times that she knew for a fact that Jordan had called 911 not once, but twice. It's only later on that she changes her narrative to be that she was unsure if Jordan had in fact really called 911. But as you just heard Eva say, she was standing right next to him. She should have heard. Well, she did hear him, and we know that she heard him because she's already admitted to that. And not only that, but we can hear her in the background of Jordan's 911 calls, meaning that she was close enough to him, as she just admitted to being, to be picked up by the iPhone speaker. So we know that she heard him call 911 and that she knows that he did.
I don't know, sir. I don't know. At this point, I don't know what to tell you. All I know is what I've done. And my mind was prepared. I know exactly what happened.
Were you tired? Have you been sleeping at all?
Yeah, I've been sleeping. The thing is...
You're just sleeping normal?
What do you mean?
Well, do you get normal night's rest normally?
I mean, I sleep in sometimes, but neither one of us are working. If I'm asleep, he has her, or vice versa.
Right.
It's not like I leave my kid unattended or anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
As she has done the entire time, she contradicts herself on her sleeping pattern for that night. She was up all night. They didn't sleep much that night. She was up all night. Well, now she says she was asleep the entire time with the exception of 4 o'clock in the morning and when Jordan woke her up to tell her that he was leaving.
No.
Did you wake up?
Not really. Well, I didn't really wake up till after he was gone. And then
Now you just heard her contradict herself again by saying that she didn't really wake up until after Jordan had gone.
I don't know, when you fall asleep and you wake up and you feel like it's been hours.
Yeah.
I think that's why I texted him and asked him, hey, where you at?
If you remember from last week's episode, Eva admitted to texting, which means that she admitted to being awake after she had said that she wasn't. And so she starts to try to rationalize why she was awake after she said that she wasn't. So she said that Jordan woke her up to tell her that he was leaving, and she got out of bed to use the bathroom and then texted him to ask him where he was at, which made no sense. Now she's changing her story again to say that he woke her up to leave, and then she must have gone back to sleep and didn't realize how long she was asleep before she got back up and then texted him asking where he was at.
What else did you text him and say?
I don't remember.
Come on, talk to me.
Where you at? Something about, he was like, I'm here, da-da-da-da. The lady will be here in 15 minutes, something like that. I said, are you coming here before you go? Take him home. I wanted him to. Because I was sick. I wanted him to.
Right.
That's when he got home, that's whenever I got up. I was check on my kid.
This is something that Eva did tell the truth about. She wanted Jordan to come back to the house with Billy before taking Billy home. We know from Eva's phone records that her text to Jordan said, "You're not going to take Billy back before you come home, are you?" Now, whether or not Eva's reasoning for why she wanted Jordan to come home first before he took Billy home is legit or not, that's something you will have to decide for yourself. In my personal opinion, Eva's reasoning for why she wanted Jordan to come home first before taking Billy home makes no logical sense. Jordan was actually closer to Billy's home at the time than he was to their house, so it would have only taken a matter of minutes for him to drop Billy off first before returning back to the house. What I will say is that the only logical reasoning that I can think of for why she would want him to do that is so that she would have more eyes for the performance that she knew she was about to put on. Again, that is just my personal opinion for why I think she really had Jordan come home first. But I don't know shit about fucks, so as I said, you decide for yourself if you think her reasoning is logical or if you think it was more nefarious. On that note, let's continue.
Actually told me I was overreacting, that there was a heartbeat. And I told me, no, there's not a heartbeat. Because part of her body was stiff, and I felt it whenever I touched her. Because it kind of wiggled her.
Did he pick her up? Did he hold her at all?
Yeah, he did.
We already know from Jordan that he says he absolutely did not hold Olivia, and that the only time that he touched Olivia was when he checked her pulse by the couch after placing his first 911 call, but before he made the second 911 call. We know beyond any shadow of a doubt that Eva held Olivia, and there is proof of that in the form of bodily fluids on the clothing that Eva was wearing. Unlike Eva, Jordan did not change his clothing, and we know that as a fact. Meaning that if Jordan had in fact held Olivia, as Eva Millard claims that he did, Jordan would have bodily fluid present on his clothing like Eva had on the clothing she changed out of, but Jordan did not have any bodily fluids present on his clothing, which means that Jordan did not hold Olivia as Eva Millard claims that he did in this version of her events.
At what time?
I picked her up and I was frantically running. Like I didn't know what to do. I kept telling her, call 911, call 911, call 911, now call 911. And at first he told me I was overreacting, that there was a heartbeat. So I was already walking out of my room to the living room, and that's whenever I laid her on the couch.
Now, Eva is claiming that she is the one that laid Olivia on the couch, not Jordan, as she just previously stated.
And then he told me I was overreacting because he felt the heartbeat in his bedroom. And I said, no, it can't be.
She'd been dead about 8 hours in.
I told him, I said, there's no way, because I felt her body. I felt her.
She was way cold by then.
The only part I felt was warm is this part right here. But this I can't remember what arm, but it was stiff. And I knew that. The rest of her body wasn't like that. I told him, you have to call 911 and you do it now, please. And I wasn't as calm as I am now, freaking out. And then I think he picked her up or something, and I was doing something, I can't remember what I was doing, but I was walking towards the bedroom and I realized this on my shoulder.
Did you change shirts?
Yes, I did.
Where's that shirt at?
In my bedroom floor, I think. And it was a slobber, or it was a dark shirt, so I didn't know. It was slobber or blood or something. And that's when I noticed the blood or something, period. And I said, flip her over, because I thought maybe she was choking and we just caught it or something. I didn't know. So flip her over, and that's whenever she started bleeding out the mouth or drooling or whatever onto the couch. And then
in previous versions of events that Eva has stated, she said that she picked Olivia up and there was stuff coming out of her mouth, and that's what made her think that perhaps Olivia was choking. However, in this version of events, she leaves out the whole picking her up, stuff's coming out of her mouth, running to the couch, and goes straight to she was walking back to the bedroom by herself for reasons unknown. And in that moment, she realizes that she has bodily fluid on her clothing, and that is what made her think, oh, perhaps Olivia is choking. And then the couch sequence comes up next.
I don't remember if he was holding her before I said that or if it was after he picked her up. But I was trying to pat her chest, and at first I was trying to give her CPR. I didn't know how to do it. And I was patting her back, like trying to choke her or whatever. That's all that happened. I wish I would have been awake. I wish I would have just kept her in bed with me. She was talking. She was fine when she was with me. I don't know what happened. I can't tell you anything else. His demeanor was sleepy, grouchy, sleepy.
She's telling the story of Eva Millard and the Seven Dwarfs right there.
You know, it wasn't like he was frantically pissed off or mad at the world or detached or anything like that. The first weird thing that happened was he went and dropped Billy off. I was like, fuck them, let him stay. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
I want to make note of the fact that Jordan would not have had to take Billy back home if she had not made him bring Billy home with him instead of taking Billy home first, which was his initial plan.
What does that mean?
That means she died about 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock this morning?
In the morning, yeah.
Are you kidding?
No.
I thought it was morning when I picked her up.
About 1 or 2 o'clock, somewhere in that neighborhood.
I thought it was morning.
Just for the record, I want to clarify that there is no official time of death.
I told him that I was on the bed, didn't feel good. So I went to bed. Olivia was already asleep. I was asleep. I didn't even know what time he came to bed, to be honest with you.
So he didn't wake you up when he came to bed?
I know that he was in bed with me whenever I got up and got Olivia.
You sure?
He may have. There's a lot of times he gets in bed with me that I don't even recall him getting in bed, and he'll tell me that he told me and he talked to me, and I don't even remember. Or sometimes when I'm in the morning, he'll be like, I told you I was leaving. Well, I never heard you say that. I told you, and you said okay. It's just sometimes I guess he has a conversation with me that I don't even know about. Or did at the time that I was asleep.
So, when you picked her up and you carried her to the living room, at some point in time, he got her or not?
Yeah.
And what did he do?
Held her and put her down.
He touched her face anywhere, do anything?
Not that I know of. I did. I thought maybe she's choking.
Right.
So I was trying to open her mouth. I was trying to see where the blood was coming from. Her mouth wasn't open.
If you remember from last week's episode, Eva told in one of her many previous versions of this story that when she found Olivia, she found her with her arm up and her mouth open. But now, in this version of her story, she is saying that she couldn't get Olivia's mouth open.
We already know that her neck was broken.
I knew that just by holding her.
Huh?
I knew that just by holding her.
So, here's the thing. And I've done this job for quite some time. Little 2-year-old girls don't get their neck broken just by falling off of a bed. Or, her neck has developed enough as a 2-year-old that somebody forcefully caused those injuries. And the problem is, I believe, it's very clear to me that you and he both know what happened. And I don't know if it was an accident. I don't know if there was something that happened between you and him, and something through that caused this to happen. But that's what we want to get to the bottom of. And because we're going to find out tomorrow that the evidence that we already believe.
What do you already believe?
That her neck is broken.
Well, I understand that. I mean, I knew that.
But
by picking her
a
up.
2-year-old doesn't get her neck broken without anybody knowing.
Well, the thing is once before I sent Jose her dad pictures because we had her in her crib, well, in the playpen, and she was getting old enough to try to climb out and all that, and that's what she'd been doing. We would put her in there to go to sleep. She'd come back running in there and be like, "Hi," like, "I know you just put me down, but I back out," because she was trying to climb out. And one time she had fell or tried to climb out again or whatever, and she had little bruises on her back. I panicked. Jordan's always calm down, you're overreacting, da-da-da-da-da. No. And even that time I said, how did I not know? She didn't cry. I mean, as far as I knew, she didn't cry.
The thing to make note of here is that Eva is trying to establish that Olivia had a pattern of crawling out of the pack and play and accidentally hurting herself. And Eva is trying to reinforce the narrative that Olivia did this to herself by trying to crawl out of the pack and play.
But if I knew something, I would tell you.
You do know.
How do I know something?
A 2-year-old does not break her neck.
I understand that, but I was asleep. How do I know what happens whenever I'm
He said he was asleep. So which one?
We were both sleeping. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. We were sleeping.
Here, Eva incorporates the information that Perry provided her, though it was false, that Olivia's time of death was estimated to be around 1 o'clock in the morning. So she has now worked that into her version of events, stating that they were asleep around 1 o'clock in the morning. At this point, you hear Eva amend her story based on the information, though false, that police have provided her with thus far.
She had woken up. This is exactly what happened. She had woken up. I had gotten up to get her. He was a little grumpy because she was talking and moving around and stuff. So I picked her up and I put her back down in her playpen. That's what happened, period. Then I crawled back in bed. I was upset at him for being upset at me, blah, 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 blah. I started crying. He started comforting me, whatever, and we both fell asleep.
And what time was that?
I don't know. I thought it was early in the morning. Come to find out it was late at night.
Mm-hmm.
I told everybody I don't know what time it was. I never looked at the time. I didn't look at my phone. Nothing. It was just dark outside.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know what time it was.
Of course, we all know that Eva is the one that provided and was stuck on the 4 a.m. narrative until she realized that narrative wasn't beneficial for her.
He woke me up. He woke me up this morning and said he was going out. Okay.
So did he ever get up in the middle of the night with Olivia, or did you always do that?
Well, he has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if he heard her and I didn't, he would get up. But mainly I'd hear.
Okay.
You know.
So that brings me to another question. Are you a heavy sleeper or light sleeper?
I am a heavy sleeper.
Okay.
Yes. At nighttime, we put her in the deal. And Jordan is a softer sleeper,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. Because sometimes he wakes up or he'll tell me he's going to do something or whatever, and I don't even remember it.
Mm-hmm.
But he says I do. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, you do. I remember telling you. You know what I mean? And
so how did he feel about having to get up in the middle of the night if he had to get up with Olivia?
I don't think he ever cared.
Never said anything to you about it or got frustrated or anything like that?
No. He's always told me that he takes my kids as his.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one reason why I loved him. Most men aren't like that nowadays. They don't like kids.
Mm-hmm.
I want to point out the fact that Eva just very clearly stated that Jordan never got angry, irritable, mad, upset, whatever descriptive term that you would like to use, when he had to deal with her child being awake in the middle of the night, which sounds like occurred often. However, in last week's episode, she stated to Detective Perry that for reasons unbeknownst to anyone, including her, she thought that Jordan was upset with her for having got Olivia up in the middle of the night. So she just very clearly contradicted herself on that whole situation, due to the fact that she just told a pattern of behavior which completely contradicts the version of events that she told previously.
And I knew. I'm the one that knew. Because I kept telling him, no, Jordan, call 911 now.
Yeah.
And I was freaking out. And he kept telling me, calm down. And at first, I only got to have a hand on her.
Now she is stating that she only got to have a hand on Olivia.
The thing is, it's like, I was asleep. And I understand, like I said, I was freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
I had a hand on her, and I was freaking out. And I stood up, and I said, Jordan! I screamed it as loud as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, what? I said, there's something wrong with her. There's something wrong with her. And I was just full. So much to where I couldn't even remember.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I remember is being on the ground. That was before I ever picked her up.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me I was overreacting. And it's hazy, but it was almost like he had his hand like this on me and was trying to check her pulse or whatever. And he told me that she had a heartbeat. I said, I don't give a fuck. Call 911 now.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to the living room, and that's whenever I picked her up. As soon as I picked her up, I knew.
Mm-hmm. And he did too.
I knew. And I told him, I said, I don't give a fuck. Call 911 and call them now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had sat her on the couch. And then I was doing something, I can't remember exactly, but I was going towards the back room, and I noticed the thing on my shoulder. Didn't know what it was, but I said...
Now she noticed the thing on her shoulder, and she didn't know what it was, But earlier she stated that she knew it was blood or drool or something.
Turn her over. Maybe she was choking. I didn't know. Turn her over. You know what I mean? Just flip her over. Something's coming out of her mouth. Something's coming out of her nose. Flip her over.
And I heard you on the 911 call saying, "What is this? What is this?" Is that what you were talking about?
I didn't know.
Okay.
I didn't understand. I guess, had hung up. And I said, "Call him now. Call them now." And then I guess he called him back. And then
So
I thought he didn't call.
So he called and he said, "I'll call you back."
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Because he was talking so soft. I was yelling so loud.
We know that that is a lie because we have the 911 calls and we have played them for you all several times throughout the podcast, and she is clearly not running around frantic, screaming as loud as she can in the background of those 911 calls. She's not doing that in either of Jordan's 911 calls or her own.
I didn't hear him. So I had seen him on the phone, and then I'd seen him turn around. And then I said, "Did you call him or whatever?" And he turned back around. And either time I didn't hear him on the phone. So he had left. And I
didn't tell you anything?
He told me that he couldn't have Billy there. I can't do this right now. I can't have Billy here. Said, "Please stay with me. I can't go through this by myself. Just please stay." He was like, I can't. I gotta go take Billy home. He cannot be seen here, blah, 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 blah.
So he's more concerned about Billy than he is Olivia?
Yeah, at that point in time, yes. But for me, in my point of view, I just thought he was in his own way panicking, like, what do you do? You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna leave Olivia. You know, and at that point, he had left, and it had been a minute. So I thought that he didn't call, or he just played like he called, and I called. And then about the time I got somebody on the phone, I seen feet coming towards the door, and I
heard that.
I said, "Never mind," and I hung up, or "Never mind, they're here," or something, and hung up. And then that's it. And then here I am. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why am I a suspect?
Here's the thing.
The verbiage that she used in telling this version of events had something that stuck out to me. And that is the fact that she said when she called 911, she hung up on the 911 dispatcher because she saw feet approaching the door. To me, that would indicate that you were at a certain eye level where feet would be the first thing that you see, like perhaps, I don't know, the floor that blood was allegedly cleaned up off of. But additionally, we should note that they had a solid front door, and the home did not have a clear glass storm door or a screened door. So altogether, I'm not really sure how that works out, but I digress.
We were listening to your 911 call, or when Jordan called 911. It sounded like you're in the background talking. It sounds like you're saying Olivia, you know, trying to get her to wake up or whatever. But it also sounds like you say something about it's broken.
I thought her neck was broken.
Then why'd you think that?
Because when I picked her up, normally she just goes straight here. When I picked her up, I had to brace her neck. That's why, and it kind of popped.
Okay.
Whenever I went to do this, to hold her there, that's what I was saying. I think it's broken. Her neck.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay. So, right there, what were you guys talking about before?
Crawford County 911.
That was probably whenever he was trying to tell me that I was overreacting to calm down. And
What do you say? What do you say it is to?
I don't know.
Did you hear that?
It is. Crawford County 911. What's wrong with you? Hey. Let me call you right back.
He was telling me that I was overreacting. That was whenever I was freaking out, frantic, and I was like, you better call him now, da-da-da-da-da. And he was like, I can't do this right now, or something like that. And Billy's outside, said, I gotta take him home. I said, call 911 now. And he called, and I really couldn't hear what he said because he was talking so quiet.
So where were you guys at when he called?
The time I know for sure, or I think he called, because I really didn't know for sure if he called, because I called myself later, because nobody was coming.
The time he called for sure, well, I think he called. I wasn't for sure that he called.
And about the time I called myself, I seen footprints coming up, or shoes walking up to my front door.
She says, I'd seen footprints coming up or shoes. I want everyone to keep that verbiage in mind throughout the entirety of the coverage on the SHREEVE case, and especially during the next segment when we start going over all of the different pieces of evidence.
Where were you standing when he called?
By the couch.
Okay, so he was in the living room as well?
Yes.
Both times he called?
Yeah, I think so, but I was freaking out.
Okay, all right. I was just curious. We were trying to figure out exactly what you said there, but you said this because you thought her neck was broken.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because I felt it. I mean,
right.
When I was holding her, at first I was patting her on the back.
Okay.
And then whenever I did this, because it was just a little wobbly, so I put my hand over it, and I felt it. I mean, I felt it with my hand. That's whenever everybody was there, I told them, check her neck, check her neck, check her neck.
Okay.
Eva describes Olivia's neck as wobbly, and she said that she knew it was broken because she felt it with her hands. I think it's interesting that she continuously states that she knew her daughter was dead, she knew her daughter's neck was broken, which, fact check, it wasn't, and that she felt that Olivia's neck was broken with her hands and that it was wobbly. I point this out because her neck was not broken, despite the fact that Eva claims that she felt it and that she knew that it was, despite the fact that officers continuously stated that her neck was broken as fact when it wasn't throughout the interrogation. I think that we should keep in mind that if Eva had actually been broken, you would think that Eva would not have been moving her around as much as she claimed that she had. I do think that she continuously states that as a way to reinforce her narrative that Olivia did this to herself by falling out of the pack and play. Additionally, I think that Eva continuously stated that she knew that Olivia's neck was broken and that she felt it because Eva knew what was to come when they did the autopsy. But we'll save that for later on in the podcast.
So I've listened intently. And when we first started, you talked about how tired you were. You were super tired. Because I was sick, period. Okay. Not because I was coming down. I was sick. Okay. And I had just went to my doctor and got whatever kind of medicine because I was sick. Okay. Yes. Yesterday, Jordan had Olivia. I had gotten up, whatever, and he had fed her and then put her down for a nap, whatever. Said she threw up, whatever, okay. I had went back to bed. Olivia was at the foot of my bed. So she was all right. So I went to bed. I freak out about the littlest thing that happens to her. You have no idea. That's why he always thinks I'm exaggerating. Every time I say something, exaggerating. Because I overreact. You know, I've been afraid she was going to die since before she was born. Because she weighed 3'9". And that was my fear. But I was sick, yes. So I was asleep, yes. Okay. So
are you a hard sleeper?
I'm a hard sleeper, period.
Okay, I don't know you. I'm just asking. So,
Eva says that she is a hard sleeper, period. Remember that for later.
obviously, from the 911 call, you thought her neck was broke, right?
I felt it.
Okay, so you felt it. You knew something went wrong. That's a hard force. I mean, wouldn't you agree that?
I mean, I agree
a little
with that.
bit.
But I can't possibly sit here and tell you what happened.
Let me tell you what
I
else.
don't know.
Okay, let me tell you what.
The puke rags, like I told you about.
So,
Puke rags, I guess it was clothes and
was that this
puke.
morning?
It was yesterday morning. I was sick. He had her.
Tell me about this morning. He got up and just left?
He got up and told me, hey, I'm going to go meet Billy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, go. You know, I'm in bed. I don't care. And then I get up because my stomach's hurt.
In case you didn't catch it, she is telling her version of events for that morning again to Patty Stroud with the Crawford County Sheriff's Office. And this time she says that he woke her up to tell her that he was leaving, and then she got up because her stomach was hurting. And this time, unlike last time, she does not mention that she went back to sleep after he was leaving. So she's reverted back to the version that she told Detective Perry, which is that he woke her up when she left, and that was the moment that she got up and went to use the bathroom.
And I texted him, hey, where you at? And we had a conversation. I already told him what it was. That's it. And
You're supposed to get pills, right?
yes. And I asked him, are you going to take Billy home? I hadn't seen my daughter yet. Are you going to take Billy home? Or are you coming here first? He said, I'm coming there first. Thank you. You know what I mean? And then when he got there, Olivia hadn't made a sound. Normally she does. So I got up out of bed and I walked over there and I just looked at her. And for me, I automatically knew something was wrong with her because she never sleeps with her mouth open, just like I never do. And her mouth was open. And then I touched her. When I touched her, he had came in and I don't know, I screamed his name as loud as I could, and I started freaking out, and he tried to calm me down, telling me, you're overreacting, she has a heartbeat. No, she effing don't, I told him. She don't. I felt her arm. I went like this to her. Normally that wakes her up like that, but it didn't.
So, had you found her prior to him coming in the house, or
He was already
in?
He was already in the house.
Okay, so he was already in the house and you found her.
Yes, and that's whenever I screamed for him. He was in the bathroom. I was in front of her playpen, and I freaked out, and I said, I remember screaming his name really loud, and then for some reason, I remember being on the floor. Just me. And then he was telling me to calm down, there's a heartbeat, da-da-da-da-da. That's when I started screaming, call 911. Just call 911. And then I picked her up.
And did he tell you you didn't have time for that? Did I hear that?
No, he said he couldn't do this right now because Billy and them were outside. And at that point,
Listen,
I was
you sound like a smart girl. Does that not seem weird?
It did. Even whenever I was standing there, I begged him, please, I don't want to do this alone. And he said, I can't leave Billy here. And then left. He called 911 first because I didn't believe he called 911 because I didn't hear it. And that's why I recalled. And then I seen feet. And I said, never mind, they're here. And hung up.
So then
That's all I know.
he went and took Billy home. And then he went and sat here on
Apparently
the
he had a conversation with Pam, but I didn't know none of that. And I didn't call no one. I was too busy worried about Olivia. I don't know what to say. He has not acted at all.
You told Detective Perry, too, I think it was, that you sent pictures. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on Facebook.
What was that?
It was of Jose and Olivia.
Okay.
She was born and was still in the NICU, and her feet was only this big. And I sent a picture of that to Jose and and of him kissing her leg or something while she was in the thing. And I even sent them to Jordan, and I said, oh my God, look how little my baby was back then. And she was. I mean, I could hold her like this. And Jordan said, he said something like, wow, or, I can't believe it, or something like that. That's it.
Is there anything deleted on those phones?
What an interesting question to ask her.
I know of one. I mean, from whenever I've seen her, when I picked her up, which I thought was somewhere 4 o'clock in the morning, but it was dark. I had been asleep. You could be asleep for 100 hours and feel like you're asleep for 30 minutes.
And you wake up and be like, oh crap.
Yeah. But I told him, I put her in bed with me. He got a little aggravated and said, do I need to leave the room? I said, no, we will. Well, then I should have left the room. But I didn't. I crawled back in bed with him.
From last week's episode, you all know that previously she stated that she offered to leave the room with Olivia and that she gave her a bottle and put her back into bed. And then she changed her story and negates the fact that she supposedly got her a bottle of milk before putting her back in the pack and play. And now we're back to that version, the version where she never left the room.
Said something about, I don't remember though, because I remember seeing bruises on the side of her face and screaming, I was never there, or something along those lines of, where the hell did that come from? Or
now she's claiming to have noticed the bruises on Olivia's face and saying that she inquired about where they came from.
I wasn't there last night, something like that. I don't remember screaming it, but they asked me a question earlier about the phone call. When I seen those bruises, I was a little just shocked, you know what I mean, of her face, because it wasn't there. I had just had her, it wasn't there.
Now, noticing the bruises becomes a key component to Eva's story.
And I remember if that was whenever he was on the phone, or if he was on the phone or about to be on the phone, I don't know. Because they said something about it is, or...
Which, Eva pointing out that she recollects that Jordan said it is when he's calling 911 is not something that she remembers. It's something that the police gave her. That is information that the police provided her with that she is now using to amend her story and her version of events.
What do you say?
He said that it is on the call.
I was racking my brain to figure out what that was about, but I can't. I don't recall it. God, I don't recall that. I was trying to tell her, but I don't know. And I remember feeling her neck. I was trying to hold her up.
Now, feeling her neck is a key component of her story, which you all know from last week's episode and earlier in this one, that didn't come into play until later on.
And the people that came in.
Side note, I find it incredibly intriguing and interesting that Eva said then those people came in and started doing compressions on her. Not the first officer arrived on the scene and then went back and saw Olivia on the bed and started doing compressions on her. She said those people, as in plural, as in a group of people like EMS that arrived in a group, came in and started doing compressions on her. I just wanted to point that out because I think that that's an interesting statement.
Started compressions and all that on her. And then somebody took me out to the front and I said, check her neck. It took me a minute to say that because I was just focusing on what was happening.
Clearly, Eva is the one that gave officers on the scene that day from Van Buren Police Department the idea that Olivia's neck was broken when we know for a fact that it wasn't.
saying, you need to check her neck, you need to check her neck. And then about, I don't know, a little after that, they said, take her out. And then he came out and told me she was gone because her neck was broken.
Here, Eva claims that she announced to officers on the scene that she believed Olivia's neck to be broken, and then that they came out and allegedly told her that her daughter was dead because her neck was broken. The thing to note about that is that there is no proof of that statement being made because there is no dash cam footage of them telling her that, at least not on any of the footage that was provided to the defense.
I knew that. And it wasn't because I foreseen it or I seen it happen. It's because I felt it with my own hands. I felt her neck pop.
I felt it with my own hands. I felt her neck pop.
With my own hand, because her little body was stiff. This arm, I can remember.
Her little body was stiff, well, just her arm. Well, I can't remember which one. Even though, if you have watched the interrogation tapes, you know that she acts that out for Detective Perry. So, yeah.
And I was trying to fix it.
You were trying to fix that her arm was stiff. Lord have mercy. Make it make sense. I can't. Okay, back to it.
But I was trying to fix it. I didn't know. I was trying to fix it. I thought she was just cold. And I was trying to hit her on her back. After I seen stuff on my shoulder, I thought maybe she was choking. So I flip her over. And that's when Jordan flipped her over and I started patting her on the back.
I flipped her over, flip her over. That's when Jordan flipped her over. Hell, we got 3 different versions of the story in a 5-second span.
Then I picked her up. And then right after I picked her up, I felt it. That's whenever I felt it. I was like, that's whenever I started saying it's broken. Because I felt it. I never even heard him say a word while he was on the phone. When I called her, I was by the front door and I was finally seeing feet. I turned my phone.
Was she on the couch or did you have her?
I had her. She was on the couch.
Patty asked Eva specifically, did you have her? And Eva's response is, yeah, I had her. Well, she was on the couch. Well,
I didn't want to let her go. So I put her on the bed. And I changed my shirt real quick. I knew I was fixing to leave, you know.
Eva stated that she changed her shirt because she knew she was fixing to leave. All right.
But I had this nasty stuff. I didn't know what it was. Took my shirt off and put another one on. And then I was like, nobody's here yet. They should be here. So I called because in my head I was thinking, well, maybe he didn't call. And I just thought he did. And I called and it was about the same address. Remember, I seen the Pete come towards the front door and I was trying to get that dude to come back there and he was, well, what's happening? No, you need to come here. And then that's whenever he seen her and frantically grabbed her too and started compressions. Then he made me leave. That's it.
In this version, Eva says that Officer DeCrue is the one that did the chest compressions on Olivia, but you just heard her previously say that that's when they came in and started the chest compressions. But I want you guys to keep that in mind, and I want you guys to keep the time frame and the time span for everything that could have occurred in mind.
4 or 5 minutes. That's why I thought he didn't call. I thought it was, I don't know, I thought he was just really thinking I was overreacting because he tells me that a lot. Because there was one time we had at the old house, we had her in a crib. When I woke up, I always check on her. She's the first thing I go to.
Eva states that when she wakes up, she checks on Olivia. That's the first thing she does. However, According to her version of events for November 8th, 2018, Jordan wakes her up to tell her that he's leaving. She doesn't check on Olivia. She then, at some point in time, gets up to go to the bathroom and also gets on Facebook and sends text messages, but also does not check on Olivia. And then Jordan comes home and wakes her up, and she goes into the bathroom to do pills with him and still doesn't check on Olivia.
Whenever I picked her up, she was acting kind of funny. Oof. My stomach started hurting and I just started panicking. When I picked her up, her little bag had bruises on it. Well, she'd been crawling out of her crib a lot. So I called the dad and I told him, look, I guess she tried to get out of her crib and she fell, da-da-da. And he's Jose. And I told him I was sorry, I started crying, da-da-da. And he was like, it's okay. And then this happened.
Here we go again with Eva trying to sell the narrative that Olivia had a history of crawling out of the pack and play or attempting to crawl out of the pack and play and harming herself. She is desperately trying to set up the story that Olivia accidentally killed herself trying to crawl out of the pack and play. Then we have the element of accountability to consider here. You have heard Eva several times blame Olivia for her own death. She states time and time again that she believes that Olivia accidentally killed herself trying to crawl out of the pack and play. What you don't hear is any deserved or undeserved accountability. There is zero self-blame to the point that she is literally blaming her 2-year-old for accidentally killing herself. This woman can't even admit that maybe she should not have been putting her child in the pack and play that she is alleging that her child had a history of getting hurt attempting to crawl out of or crawling out of the pack and play. This woman's desperate need to do self-preservation is second to none.
And my first thought was maybe she's trying to crawl out because she was awake when I put her down. So I didn't know if she'd gotten up and...
Are you positive that you put her back in the playpen?
100%, without a doubt. Because I told Jordan, I said, Jordan, we'll go to the other room. Because I was upset that he was upset. And I said, we'll go to the other room. Well, then I got to the foot of the bed and I put her down. And then I told her good night and I went back to bed. But that was mainly because I was tired. It wasn't that I didn't want her or nothing. I was just tired. So I put her down.
The funny thing is that this segment was only supposed to be 1 episode, but there was so much fuckery that it became 2 episodes, and shocker, it's about to become 3 episodes. So there is still more story changes from Eva Millard to come, and I will see you all on part 3 of Eva Millard and all her different versions of events.